Shalom. I've been receiving so many messages and calls about, my faith, about what do I believe, did I convert to Judaism, what are these posts about, I'm offended, whatever have you, and I was going to wait until I had my makeup on and my hair together and everything before I made this video, but, tomorrow's not promised. And I want to be a good steward with the truth that I've been given. I started this journey out with pure transparency. I wanted people to know who knew me back before my life changed 2 years ago, why it was that I was so different. I wanted people to understand, what was going on with me. And I left many, many videos up about some of the truths that I come to find out through studying the Bible, right? But I want you to know something. Some of us have had, like, let's take math, right? Let's take math. Some of us have had great math teachers who had the ability to make it so that everybody understood the material. And some of us have had terrible math teachers. Some of us have had math teachers that made us want to stay in algebra. I don't want to learn trig. I don't want to learn geometry. I don't want to go on to calculus, Cal 1, Cal 2, differential equations. No, I want to stay right here in algebra because it's too hard to go any further. And I rely on this teacher, and whatever this teacher says in this book, that's all that exists, because that's it. Even though there's glimmers of truth that shows in those books that there is more complex math. Like, for example, if you look in the it'll be like application sections of some math books. It'll say application, and it'll be like how you could apply the beginnings of calculus, a principle learned in calculus, but using the algebra that you've already learned, right? And some of us look at that stuff and are like, oh yeah, that's too hard. I don't want to learn it. In order to pass this class, all I have to do is do the every other number in this exercise set, and then I'm straight. So if somebody presents to you a problem that incorporates just a little bit more of the principles of that book, you might not be able to understand it because you've practiced the same thing over and over again. You never sought to see where did these principles originate, because it was so hard looking and the teacher was so confusing. And you just wanted to do what everybody else was doing in the class to keep your head above water. Well, that's what's been happening spiritually. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. That's what's been happening spiritually. A lot of people have embraced what their parents have done and their grandparents have done. Even though technology has changed and it has shown us that there are easy ways to get to the answer, we can now go back and research, how did the mathematicians get to the ideas that they came to birth, the mathematics that we have now. We have the tools at our disposal. We have the World Wide Web. On YouTube, you can learn how to build a house from the ground up. If you really want to find out something, you have a way. So the excuses that our grandparents and our great-grandparents, some of us, gave about their education and about not getting more may have applied for them, but they don't apply for us. Not now, not in this day and age. And that's the case spiritually. As I started to really research my faith, because it started off in an algebra idea, right? Oh, okay. So the seed of the word was planted into me as a child. And I turned away from the faith. I became first agnostic, and then I was like straight up atheist. I didn't even believe in a higher power. I was like, man, we're just here like bacteria, and then we die. Be good to other people, peace, love, and joy to everybody else. Just be a good person, spread good energy, and then die. That was my thought. But then I found that my life wasn't working. Even when I had success, I didn't have success. And so I shared my journey with you guys, not because I wanted to air out my dirty laundry, not because I wanted you guys to give me attention or anything like that. I wanted to be honest. Because I wanted, if somebody else who had my story and who had my background found themselves questioning whether or not this life and the way that it's presented was accurate, I wanted them to have testament of the fact that somebody else spoke up about it. The truth that I'm about to present to you today, many people Do not speak about. Why? Because it will upset the class. You ever have that one person in class who's really intelligent, smarter than the teacher, even maybe in some instances, and they say, well, there's an easier way you could teach it. You could do it this way. The teacher gets upset and the class gets mad at the person for speaking up. Very rarely do people go to that person in the class and say, you know what? You're onto something here. Can I study with you? But I don't want to be that person who knew something in the class and did not speak up. What I'm about to share with you, literally, if you research each topic that I bring up, because this video will be way too long if I go into detail on every single point. I believe that I'm going to be making more than one video. It is my plan. If the Father allows it to happen, it will happen. But what I'm going to do right now is to just clear the record so that people can understand, because they're calling some of the things that I'm saying, petty, or they're saying that that's extra credit, or you don't have to do it. You can do it whatever way you want to do it. No, there was a given way to do it. There was a given way to do it. And just as this land of America was stolen from its indigenous peoples, the faith that we call Christianity was stolen also. And you have a choice. When you first learned the real meaning behind Thanksgiving, you have a choice. You can continue to celebrate Thanksgiving, knowing what it means, or you can be awake. Now, that's totally up to you. And I don't want to convince anybody to let go of their turkeys and their hams. That's not what I'm trying to do. But for those who have not ever heard what I'm speaking to you, I want you to know something. When you research these truths, beware. There are going to be people who want to ostracize you, people who want to alienate you because of what you're coming to know. You can message me. You can talk to me. And there'll be others that will come up. I'm not the only person to wake up. I'm not the first person to wake up. This was prophesied about, mind you. There'll be others who are coming after me. So this faith was stolen. What do I mean by that? If you read the Torah, which are the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Those are the English names for them. That's not what they are. Okay? If you get a complete Jewish Bible, like I've been holding up this whole time, it will tell you that these books were actually Hebraic books. And some of you might have seen The Prince of Egypt, right? Where Moses, whose name really was Moshe, and Aharon, not Aaron, but Aharon, led the people out of Egypt into the promised land. Yes. During the time of their wandering in the desert, Yahuwah, and his name is not God. God was something that was a name that was invented later on. And we can talk about transliteration later. People say, okay, the Jewish people call Yahuwah Yahweh, right? Where did that come from? Well, it became from the fact that, in the 10 Commandments, it says not to take the Father's name lightly. So you shouldn't be calling up on it for no reason. Like now we have, oh my God. Well, I'm glad that we have God, because a lot of people would be taking the Father's name in vain. His name is Yahuwah. Yahuwah. For people like me who were stripped of their native land and robbed of their native tongue, you can understand the depth and the ramifications of having been separated from your identity. When you lose your identity, you are forced to start all over again. And some of the things that you develop in that time of starting all over again are quite toxic. Just look at the crime within our community and look who's doing it. You can eventually see that, you know what, the model that we're developing from scratch is faulty. Well, same is true spiritually. When you have a model that was designed out of falsehood, you got a faulty model, don't you? So if we go back to the root, always with everything, go back to the root. It started in the wilderness. It started in the wandering. Yahuwah gave his people mandates. He said this is not punishment. This is protection. It talked about when if somebody had a sarat, we call it leprosy, but it wasn't really leprosy because it could live on surfaces. Sarat. It lived on surfaces. There were things. There was a I don't want to call it bacteria, but it was stuff that was unclean. That if you touched it, you too became unclean, and it could live on surfaces. And it said to isolate yourself for a given amount of time, for 7 days, and then come back and see, like if you had a sore on your body or something like that, and the people, you would take it to the elders, the priests, they would come and look at it and determine whether or not, how much time, based off of the commandments, based off of the mitzvot. It's not just the 10 commandments. There were laws, we call it the law of Moses, of how much time should pass before that, that person could come back. And some people say, well, the law was punishment. It was come to abolish and everything like that. I'm going to tell you what. For the people who say that the law was punishment, you haven't read it. I challenge you. You have not read it. You listen to somebody else speak to you into your life and into your knowledge, into your mind. You had a bad teacher. You had a bad teacher. And I'm so sorry. And I hope that this message will help encourage you to get to the truth yourself and you can make your own decision. The Torah was not bad. The law of Moshe was not bad. His name was Moshe, not Moses. Aharon, not Aaron. These are going to be some very ethnic names that I start speaking out. They were not, they were not European. And no, I'm not over here thinking that only black people are going to be saved. That's not what I'm saying here. That is not what I'm saying here. But we need to start with the truth. Now, people don't know who they are right now. There is a lack of identity, and I have to speak up on it. They are being oppressed their entire existence, almost it seems. And this is because of spiritual warfare. And they need to have their eyes open. So I'm in time out for that. People get offended by the fact that I say that the people in the Bible were not European. You know what? I don't care. Do your research. Do your research. They were not from Europe. Yahusha, yes, that's his name, not Jesus. Jesus is Latin for earth pig. It doesn't even exist in Greek. So when y'all talk about, oh, it was transliterated, no, you haven't done your research. There is no J in Hebrew. There is no J in Hebrew. I'm going to say it again. There was no J in Hebrew. So how do we get Jesus from Yahusha, which came from Yasha, Shah, meaning salvation, Yah, meaning one, Yah is our salvation. Yah is the one who saves us. And this first started, this is a whole nother video, but this first started when Moshe appointed from the 12 tribes 12 men to go out and survey the land, the promised land. Yahusha came from the root of Yasha. Joshua, we call him Joshua. They brought back a branch with grapes on it. Yeah, some of y'all are going to have to go back and read your word, and I understand that, but I want to encourage you to do so. Don't take me at my face value. Go back and research. I am not a teacher. I am a sister. I am a sister, and I'm sharing with you my testimony. They brought back a branch, and it had grapes on it, and they were lustrous grapes. And it was like, look, the land is flowing with milk and honey, but there's giants in the land. We can take them. It's like, but the people started to groan. It's like, here we are in this situation right now, right? Some people are celebrating Pesach. Some of us are waiting until next week because we believe in Exodus 12 where it says to wait 10 days. Abib is your first month. That means this is April. You wait 10 days and then you pick out a lamb without blemish from your flock, and then 4 days later and you slaughter it, and then you were supposed to put the blood of the lamb on your doorpost. Well, we know Yahusha is our salvation, and he did away with that. So you don't have to do the animal sacrifice part, but you are to eat matzah. You are to remove the yemetz, the yeast from your house. You are to do that. That could be a whole nother video, which is about the feasts. We say, no, don't celebrate the holidays because they are from pagan rituals. But did you know that Yahuwah has special set apart days for us? He has his own days for us, and they're in your Bible. They are even in your KJV Bible. But because we rely on bad teachers, say you don't worry about that part. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic. The law was protection for his people. And then Yahusha later on says that he did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. In Daniel 9, I forget which verse, I think it's 37 or around there. It talks, Daniel chapter 9, fine, read the whole chapter. Read the whole book of Daniel. But read the 9th chapter. It talks about the doing away, that the temple, the veil was split, and that there will be a doing away with the sacrificing of animals. A lot of the law focuses on which animal are you supposed to give up for sacrifice, or which grain offering are you supposed to give, right? What to do when you unknowingly transgress. Well, the law, if you have accepted, some of you call it the Holy Spirit, but it's the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach will live inside of you. And just as Yahuwah wrote his law on those tablets for Moshe to share with the people when they were starting to worship the golden calf, he writes, when you ask him to be in your heart and into your spirit and you submit, he writes his law on your heart. You're moved to the same place spiritually. And you can always tell when you are transgressing in sin if it isn't against the law. The spirit of the law was in Yahusha when he walked this planet, when he walked this earth. The fulfillment of that is when you start to live it in your heart. And I'm not saying that works save. There are people out there who do many great things. And in the last day, they're going to cry out to the Father. They're going to cry out to Yahusha. And they're going to say, didn't we do this in your name? Didn't we do that in your name? Didn't we cast out demons in your name? And he's going to say, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. I never knew you. Iniquity is what? Lawlessness. When you transgress the law, what is the law? Torah. It's Torah, honey. Don't think that the sins highlighted in Torah are now permissible to commit. Yahuwah would not have gone through the trouble of carefully guarding these people and maneuvering them and having as an order. He's very systematic. He's very orderly. If you go back and read, you'll see how he designated, okay, this tribe, Yehuda, you're going to be here. This tribe, Dan, you're going to be here. This tribe, Levi, you're going to be here. Levi, you're tasked with the responsibility of being the Kohanim, being the priesthood. You are going to be the ones in the tabernacle. You are going to be the ones who are going to come to perform the sacrifices, and only you are to eat the meat. Only you are to marry virgins. He gave strict regulation. He said, even so strict as this is how I want my people to dress when they are in my temple. Very orderly. Those who love discipline, those who love the military, you should understand the need for order. You should understand the need for quarantining those who might be ill. You should understand those who decide to be a defector and partake in the enemy's doings deserve punishment. Why? Because they put everybody at risk. And see, some people don't like what I'm sharing right now because they like to defect. They love their pagan gods. They love their pagan rituals because this is what we were taught. They don't want to give up eating unclean animals. Well, you know what? I really would encourage you to go back and look at what harm eating those animals does. I'm vegan. It's been 5 years for me. I've been vegan for 5 years now. This is my 5-year anniversary this week. But I came to the truth of knowing that I should not be eating meat for myself way before I ever came to the faith. 3 years before I came to the faith. And it's confirming my diet, and I can see it in my body. You know, I'm 33 years old, and if I want to go run 5 miles, it's not a problem. You know, I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have, issues. And I don't want to say it's just because of what I eat, but man, I think it's a huge part of me having changed my diet. I used to love to eat pork. My favorite food was barbecue ribs. My folks can throw down, okay? I'm not, trust me. And when I went vegan, people gave me a hard time about it. I got pulled to the side and said, how could you do this to our family? But now you're seeing the importance of eating right. I'm not saying you have to be vegan like me, but what I'm saying is like, you see the importance of eating right because it has ramifications to your body. It has ramifications to your health. He gave us the rules for protection. And some of us are undisciplined. Some of us are slothful. And we're going to have to take inventory on that and repent of it. So this is a Jewish faith. This is a Jewish faith. The prophecy began in Deuteronomy, Devarim. Okay? It began there with the search of this promised land, with the search to determine whether or not we can take this land, right? That's where it began. It was carried out through Zechariah. And like I said, this is going to have to probably be another video. That's fine. And then it was fulfilled through Yahusha. And Yahusha said, if you search through the scriptures, they were prophesying about me. Then he warns his disciples, Talmud. He warns his Talmud, saying, there's going to come a time where they persecute you and they kill you, thinking they're doing it justly for me. Or they're thinking that they are fulfilling because of me. There are going to be people who feel justified persecuting the true believers, meaning those who have observed Torah, understand which parts have been fulfilled through Yahusha, meaning no more animal sacrifices. That is not to be. But they understand the spirit of the law now. It is written in their hearts. It's been fulfilled. And they are walking in a way, they are the remnant. And he was saying, and if you read in Revelation, this is now, okay? This is now. This is starting now. Wow. This is starting now. And, some of you got to wake up. Some of you got to wake up. And I'm speaking to you because if you don't wake up right now, you're going to be lost. Because what I'm about to say, a lot of people are not going to like, and I really don't care. Okay? I got to share this with you. Stay with me. He said they're going to persecute you thinking that they're doing justly in the sight of Yahuwah. What happened? Rome was trying to invade. They were trying to invade since Yahusha's birth. They had a census. Look at the census now, right? Watch, stay with me. They had a census to go out because they were looking, they thought that there was a king that was rising up, and there was indeed. It was Yahusha. That's why Joseph fled. Joseph, and his family, Mary, when they had the baby, they left because they were trying to avoid persecution. Just like in Moshe, in the time of Moshe. Look at this. This is Pesach. Wake up. Look at the seasons of what's happening. Moshe, his family, I believe his parents were both from the tribe of Levi. They had a baby during this time. And then there was an edict from Pharaoh to kill all the Hebrew boys of that time. All of the babies. All of the male babies. Leave the daughters, but all the male babies. I posted a video that is on YouTube where you can actually see, Ramses was not the Pharaoh. Ramses was not the Pharaoh. And that was something that was added later when we got the transliteration going on, the changings going on. Yeah, it was not. That was not the Pharaoh. They chose that Pharaoh because he was a popular one, but that was not the Pharaoh. If you go back and you read that, watch that video, you could go to the library once they're open like I did and go back and research, but there was a lot of things that were wrong, okay? There were a lot of things that were wrong. I focused my studies on Constantine, but I quickly found out that there were changes that were made before Constantine. Okay, that's where my focus was on. So go back and watch that video if you are confused about which Pharaoh was in power during the time of Moshe. So the edict was throughout the land. And that video is not a faith-based video in terms of like, oh, believe. Like, no, it's a video it's very factual. Okay, I like to deal with facts, not sensationalism, facts. So if you come back to here and now, right? Why did I say that it's important for us to note that there was a census going on during the time of Yahusha's birth, right? And then he predicted, he said, listen, he prophesied, he said, there's going to come a time when they persecute you and they kill you in my name. What did that mean? Well, when we look after the resurrection of Yahusha, when he ascends, what happens after that? Rome was interested in the area because of Palestine. That's why they had the census. That's why they were trying to take over. They were trying to infiltrate. They did successfully do so through Pompeii. Maccabees, I think it's the Homoshedian dynasty. I think I'm saying that right. I'm learning. But that could be a whole nother video. But that's when Rome actually overtook, okay? And what led to that happening was there was dissension, there was division amongst the Jews. I believe it was Josephus who wrote that there were over 1 million believing Jews at the time of Yahusha's resurrection. There were 1 million who believed that he was indeed HaMashiach, the Messiah. So when people say, oh, Jews don't believe in Jesus, well, they don't, because Jesus means earth pig. Do your research. But there were 1 million at that time who did believe in Yahusha, the son of Yahuwah. Boy, these names sound ethnic, don't they? And so you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees who themselves in the Sanhedrin were indeed divided. Yes? They were divided on Torah. And then you had these messianic believers. The ones who observed Torah. Remember I was talking about the Levi, the Kohanim, those who were charged with the task of making the animal sacrifices. Well, that was an esteemed position. And so the priests didn't want to give up their esteemed place. And because they didn't want to give up their esteemed place, they really weren't ready to accept Yahusha, because that did away with their sacrificing. What are you saying? Now you abide in the people? Now they don't need us? That caused issue. You talking about there is uprising there. You're going against everything that we believed. And it's not to say, oh, you guys are nasty. It's literally like, I think a lot of people misunderstand the fact that traditionally this is what they have been taught for millennia. This is what they believed. And they were wrong. And we can all be sincerely wrong when we don't go back and read and have an open mind. Then you had the Messianic believers here, right? So Rome comes in, they destroy the temple. Not one brick will be left on top of another, just as prophesied. It wasn't just Yahusha's body about lifting it up in 3 days about his temple, but he also prophesied about the downfalling of the temple, which did indeed happen. When that happened, the people ran away. Where did they go off to? They went to West Africa. Wake up, my people who look like me. Because the diaspora, the African diaspora, some of us are of Jewish blood. And I'm not saying to worship your heritage this way, but you need to know who you are. A lot of us are out here doing crazy stuff because we have no idea who we are. We don't value ourselves. And you need to know who you are. And I could tell you, but it's not going to do any good until you realize it yourself. Some of us should be ruling like kings and queens. It's not some tacky cliche. It is the truth. That could be a whole nother video. All right, so they went to West Africa, they went to Egypt, and they went to Arabia. That's where they scattered to. So there were few who tried to stay. You had the emissaries, right? And the emissaries, like you've got John, Peter, Paul, Stephen, who was stoned. A lot of these people, they died tragic deaths. Well, all death is tragic, I guess, but what I mean to say is they died violent deaths. The disciples died violent deaths. The Roman Empire was Hellenistic. They had just conquered Greece, but they loved their deities. They loved their gods. And so there was this merging of Hellenistic ritual. So Rome was taking on these gods, right? And they liked these gods. And so they also said that their emperor should be praised as a god too. Now, do you honestly think that the remnant, the emissaries, would have really bowed the knee to these Hellenistic pagan gods? Heck no. Hell no. They wouldn't have. And I'm going to tell you what. A lot of people misuse this scripture and it drives me up the wall. They say, oh, give unto Caesar's what is Caesar's and give unto the Lord what is the Lord's. You're wrong. Go back and read what it was talking about. Context is everything. I had to reason with the pastor in China about this. He wanted to avoid persecution, and so he used that same line in order to get out of it. And that's not, you really think that if Yahuwah's people who saw him through Yahusha directly and they couldn't avoid, persecution, you think you better? You think you better? You think that because it's been some time that the rules won't apply to you? They hated him first. So naturally they're going to hate you too. Somebody rationalized pagan holiday worship as giving unto Caesar what is Caesar's. You're not to worship out of obligation to Caesar. You pay him his taxes. Don't avoid paying your taxes. Don't do lawlessness. You're not to, if they tell you don't gather, don't gather. If you are a leader right now and you have a congregation and you tell your people to come to your church anyway, and I could tell you that the meaning of a church. You want to look up church in Greek. See what that means. But you have people coming into your congregation and they're violating law, you are out of order. You are out of order. You are not to do things that are against the law. Now, there's going to come a time when what the law asks goes against Yahuwah's law. And in those instances, Yahuwah's law reigns because he is sovereign. He is sovereign. He is sovereign. So the people fled. The emissaries there. They established the rock, right? Because Yahusha said to Kepha, not Peter, Kepha, said to him, "On you I will establish my rock." The formation of those who believed started through that movement, the emissary movement. And so what Rome sought to do was they wanted to force people of this movement to bow and bend the knee to Hellenistic practices, rules, regulations, etc. Well, they wouldn't do it. And so that's why you had these deaths. Now, Christianity was birthed from people like Justin Martyr or whatever. What they did was there was this stigma against those who practice Torah. Even if you believe in Yahusha and the fulfillment of animal sacrifices through Yahusha, and that the fact you are the temple, your body is the temple right now, and your Holy of Holies is your spirit, and then that's where Yahusha writes his law on your heart and you live it and it's embodied, right? Well, there were those who believed this way, and then there were those who were still doing animal sacrifices, but the stigma to society was against following Torah. And so what they did was they stole the Hebrew scriptures, made it their own, and said, we are not going to follow Torah. In fact, we're going to say that our Jesus fulfilled Torah. In fact, what we're really going to do, darling, is we're going to make it so that anybody who follows Torah is a transgressor, okay? And then we're going to incorporate the false gods. We're going to practice the false gods of the area. So at first they didn't, but then over time they did. So you had the incorporation of Easter, of Christmas, of St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, St. Valentine's Day, Hallows Eve Day, which is Halloween. And trust me, love, I used to be team all of these, right? I used to get my Halloween costume in like January or February, okay? I was serious about Halloween. Nobody could tell me nothing because I wasn't allowed to celebrate Halloween as a kid. And so I went crazy. I almost said balls to the wall. I went crazy about Halloween because I was like, well, it's fun, it's cool, it's right around my birthday. You know, I get free candy and I get to look cute. It's pagan worship. Christmas is pagan worship. And our Gregorian calendar makes it so that things shift around every year. But there's been research that shows what the true Hebrew calendar looks like. It starts in Abib, which is April. Abib is talking about the harvest. I think it's barley. Anyway, that's a Babylonian term. It's just the first month in Hebrew, right? And it starts on the first day. The first day is Sunday. So, you've got, May 5th, and it's April 5th, right, being really the first day of April because it falls on the first Sunday. And so if you count the 14 days from then, then you have Pesach, right? So I say all of that to say the faith was stolen. Christianity was based on a little bit of truth and then twisted it for a lie. Excuse me. And that lie was used to oppress the people. It was used to oppress and to cause slavery. And the word does talk about slavery. It talks about indentured servitude, which is supposed to be filled after 7 years. And after the 7th year, you are released. Oh, debts? Debts are supposed to be forgiven in every year of Jubilee. So every 49 years, you had the year of Jubilee, where everybody rested. It was like an ongoing Shabbat for an entire year. All your debts were forgiven. You see how you couldn't have slavery here in America, which is the second Egypt? You see how you couldn't have slavery here in Egypt and follow the word? It was a falsehood. You could do it under Jesus, under God, under that false pretext that was concocted way after the Messiah had left this planet. Like, you can make the word into whatever it is you want it to be, just like China did. And I gave my testimony in the last video, which was my testimony was how China and the Communist Party was making their own version of Christianity. See, but you can't do that to the original word. And see, the people who are called by his name, like in Chronicles 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, those who are truly called by his name are going to hear this. You're going to hear this and you're going to wake up. You're going to actually want to at least research what I'm saying. You don't take it for its word. Go back and research it. But the pattern of history has been set. Look back at all the places where these missionaries who are of the Roman Empire, right? And then the Roman Empire broke off into 10 branches. And this is a whole nother video. This is a whole nother video because we're talking about Revelation now. 10 countries, right? And then they went and they invaded the rest of the world, and they had colonies. And then they forced this doctrine, this false doctrine of Jesus the Christ and God as their doctrine. And then made it so that they could oppress the people. And what was the number one thing that they did when they oppressed? Made it so that those who were oppressed couldn't read. Because if I'm telling you, if my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother could read when she was working them fields and she could read the word, do you really think? But you know what? They used to sing, "Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell, O Pharaoh, let my people go. Let my people go." Why did they know? How did they know to sing that? Here. Can read. Because the Spirit, those who worship him will worship him in spirit and truth. It is in you. You just have to wake up. You just have to wake up. Use this time in quarantine to wake up. Stop the circus. This idea of you having to go to some priest or to some apostle or deacon. The true apostles are gone. They died a long time ago, honey. This was birthed through the Roman Catholic Church. And I'm not against people who are Catholic. Remember, this war is not against flesh and blood. People need to understand, where did the Catholic Church come from? Catholicism was birthed from the Roman Empire during that time. It had nothing to do with the emissaries. Read 1 Peter and 2 Peter. I gotta go. Read 1 Peter and 2 Peter. Read 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John. Peter talks about Paul and the fact that he can be sometimes hard to understand, but he means well. And we needed Paul to deal with folks who didn't understand with faith. They couldn't understand it because they needed a very analytical approach in terms of understanding faith. But some people mistook what Paul was saying and was saying that, ignore Torah altogether. But that is because they were taught from teachers who learned from Justin Martyr. Know your history. Know your history. People not gonna like this, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. It's not, I'm not doing it for likes. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. When you find out the truth about something, you say something. You don't sit there in silence. So I'm hoping that, because, I talked about the book of Revelation in here. Some of y'all have never read the book of Revelation. It's never been talked about, and I would highly encourage you, now that you know that you don't have to go to a high priest. You don't have to go to anybody else. You are in charge of your own development spiritually. You are in charge of your own knowledge. Kings and queens, those who are righteous, research a matter. They get to the heart of a matter. That's from Proverbs. You must get to the root. You want to practice a holiday? Fine. Go find out where it originated from. And ask the Father. He is giving you the Ruach as a gift. Ask the Father, is this of you? You don't believe me about calling the son Yahusha? Pray about it. Pray about it. He'll give you confirmation. Search it. Search it. I think this is backwards, but Yod, He, Vav, She, Shin, Ayin. Vav used to be pronounced V, but back in biblical times it was Wu. Yahusha. And this is Ayin. Ayin at the end of a word makes the sound ah. Ah. Yahusha. For those who said that when Yahusha was on the eitz, on the stake, not a cross, on the eitz, because eitz is wood. Anything that has wood in it is called an eitz. When he was on the eitz, gotta go. When he was on the eitz, he said, my father, why have you forsaken me? And then he said, it is finished. I'm going to leave you with this. Hang on 1 second. He was quoting Psalm 22. Yahusha on the eitz, when he was giving, right before he was about to give up the ghost, he was preaching even then. He knew that his people, they studied Torah. They studied Tehillim, meaning the Psalms. Psalms 22 starts out with, my God, why have you forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lama azavtani. Rahok mishoati divresha agati. Elohai, ekra yomam vlot ta'ane, v'layla vlot dumiyali. V'ata kodosh yoshev tihilot Yisrael. Becha batehu avetenu, batehu batefaltemu, elecha za'aku v'nimlatu, becha batehu v'lovoshu. Psalms 22, honey, Psalms 22. I'm going to read it. Hopefully this thing doesn't die before I'm finished. But if it does, I'll just make another video and explain Psalms 22. Just go back and read Psalms 22. But at the end of it, he said, he is the one who did it. He is the one who restored. He is the one who restored. It's not it is finished as in the end of Torah. No. Go back and read. That is not what it said. And there's a lot of false teachers out there saying, and this was prophesied, that there are going to be false prophets and false teachers among you. But if you go to Psalm 22, I'm picking up at, for some of you it's going to be verse 20. Some of you it's going to be verse 29. Some of you it's going to be verse 30. All who prosper on the earth will eat and worship. All who go down to the dust will kneel before him, including him who can't keep himself alive. A descendant will serve him. The next generation will be told of Yahuwah. They will come and proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn, that he is the one who did it. He is the one who did it. It starts off with, why have you forsaken me? My body is eaten away. It looks like a writhing worm. You can see the bone through my flesh. My fathers cried out to you, and you answered and you delivered. In faith, they cried out to you. Cry out to him in faith, and he will deliver you. Cry out to Yahuwah. Yah's name was replaced 7,000 times. Do a search. 7,000 times and replaced with Lord and God. 7,000. 7,000 times. It's probably in your KJV in the book of Psalms as the name Jah. Jah. But remember, there's no J in Hebrew. Yah for Yahuwah. We get Yahweh from the vowel points that even some Jewish leaders, as they were trying to teach the Goyim, about the faith, they made the vowel points there so it would be easier to understand. And then they were like, oh, well, these people are going to take the name's name lightly. And so they tried to hide it. The rulers tried to, hide the name and say it was too sacred to say. No, you are to sing praises under him. How are you supposed to sing praises under him without calling him the right name? Lord of what? Adonai of what? And see, I had to repent of this because I said that it didn't matter. It does matter. His name does matter. It does matter. You got to say his name. But you have to know him. You have to know him. Gotta know him. I love you, my sisters and brothers. Search for the truth. Search for the truth. This message was not designed to offend. But I give it to you out of love. I give it to you out of love. Research it. Research it. Research it. All right? Shalom.